imagination, prophecy, enlightenment, and truth. These are the four principles of the Transcendent Worlds. Four worlds, fitted with galaxies, realms, and planets abound. Who am I, you may ask? I am the mysterious stranger. I will be your guide through these vast worlds. Worlds fitted into these universes. These are the tales that we wish to tell, that I have the honor to share with you. These are the tales of the verse.
The desert, scorched like the surface of the sun. But it always seemed to, on the day of the Scourge of Fire. Wait up, Hizalgo. Can't run that fast. Oh, come on, Scrootius. We're almost there, up the rock. Come on. The two young lizards crawled very quickly through the tunnel. It was dark, cold, and quite sandy. For most lizards' dwellings, this was a common and familiar place. Cool, safe, secure from the hot, blazing deserts that go vast beyond the rocks they dwell in. For many ages, lizards had lived this way. They had learned it, obtained it. It had become a way of life that even the oldest of lizards could not remember how it all began. And for some, it did not matter how or when it began. It only mattered that it was happening now. Scrootius, stop being so slow, Hizalgo said to a large grey lizard. Oh, please, I can't move as fast as you. You're so light on your feet. Scrootius replied back to Hizalgo. Hizalgo's wide eyes stared blankly at his slow and fat friend. Scrootius, we're going to be late. If you continue to move like this, we won't get anywhere. Heck, the trials won't even be that safe. I won't even be able to protect you. Protect me? Scrootius laughed to himself. Please, don't make me chuckle, Hizalgo. You may be fast, and even maybe a little bit brave, but I'm much larger than you. Hizalgo flicked his tail, knocking dust at Scrootius below. Oh, please! Didn't have to do that. I was uncalled for. Whatever you say, Scrootius. Now, come on. I can hear the pitter-patter of all the other lizards. They're scurrying forward. They must be gathering. All right. Coming up. Scrootius waddled his way up. Slowly and impatiently, Hizalgo walked away. Eventually, Scrootius caught up with him, and they journeyed through the tunnel. It was difficult for Hizalgo to keep at the same pace as his slow-moving friend, but he loved him dearly, like a brother from the same hatch of eggs. What do you think he'll be like? How am I supposed to know? I've never done it. Doesn't mean you can't have any ideas about it, Hizalgo replied harshly. Come on now. Hopefully we make it in time before they begin. As they journeyed through the dark, aimless tunnel, They heard something behind them. What was that? What was... I don't know. Maybe it was nothing. Perhaps it was just... unexpectedly scaring the two lizards. A large, long, lanky lizard slithered out of one of the nearby tunnels. You should have seen your face. You were nearly knocked off, Scrooches.
I was just caught off guard. I didn't expect to see you, Zargo.
Zargo was a long, greyish-brown lizard. A long, red-like tail, and his mouth was wide, short, and gaping. He had sharp teeth on his mouth, unlike the other two, whose teeth were quite small, or, in Hizalgo's case, practically not even there. I see you're heading down to the main entrance. Funny I should run into you here.
We're doing just what you're doing, Zargo. Just trying to make it on time.
Yeah. You go on now. Stop bothering us. Picking on lizards smaller than you. Maybe not as wise. Perhaps that's how you see it. I just see dead meat. Now, I should be on my way. I have business to attend to. Must survive the trials, don't we? Zargo stared directly at the two lizards. He eyed Hilzargo, looking down at him. The small, orange, diamond-headed shaped lizard with a fat, small tail. Indeed, for a gecko of his kind, the greatest advantage they would have in the trials would be that of speed. However, they did not do well in the heat. Now, I will be on my way. I hope you don't... What is it? Burn out there? It gets pretty toasty, I hear. Zargo slithered away, leaving the dust in their faces.
I don't like him. He's rubble. Bunch of rubble.
Don't mind him. We have a long journey ahead of us. Got to keep our spirits.
Our spirits?
Scrooge asked blankly. Yes, our spirits. My friend, with my speed, your strength, and our bond, we'll be able to get off that desert in no time.
But the trials have many things we have to worry about. Not just a desert. Distance and heat. It's also the fact that it's hard ground.
We walk on hard ground all the time. Why would this be any different?
It's easy for you to say. You can keep your feet up most of the time. Those fast feet. But I'm so sluggish. Can barely get anywhere.
Oh, come on. With a grey back like yours, you'll be able to make it through.
Make it through? Do you know what's out there?
Scrooge's face became quite fearful. Hizalgo, sloughing it off, waddled only a few steps away and turned back. Oh, come on! Don't tell me you're that afraid of death walkers and death stingers.
It's not just them. It's also...
Scrooge leaned in towards Hizalgo's face, almost pecking it with his front nose.
There are the giants.
Giants? Don't tell me that you're worried about giants.
I hear they can pick you up, scoop you with their own claws. Giant claws. Huge, meaty. That's what Elder Banth says.
Elder Banth says a lot of things. He's been among them. He even claims they're not that bad. At least some of them. Apparently, his brother got eaten by one of them. Bit strange.
Eaten?
It was then that Hizalgo realized he had just stepped in it. Oh, well, it was only because they were hungry.
Oh, they must have large stomachs. Joints and all. Oh dear, Zorgo, I can't do it. I'm not brave like you or Zorgo or anyone. I'm not even fierce or independent like Aldebanth. I'm a poor, pathetic one. I might as well just drop myself in a hole.
Oh, come on. There aren't that bad of things out there. I'll be right by your side. Plus, I have good eyes. Scrootius perked his head up, turning to Hizalgo in a very shameful face.
That's true. I suppose you do have good eyes.
I can spot anything away, not too far, and at great distances I'll know if something's coming at us. Scrootius began to ease his shoulders, lifting his head. And as he turned to Hizalgo, he said,
All right. Lead the way then. I feel much better now.
See? I told you. Now, on our way.
I still think this is a bad idea.
Oh, trust me, it's gonna be amazing. The Scourge trials will never stop us. The question indeed was, would they? I suppose there was only one way to find out. As they came to a stop, they entered into a large, dark, spacious chamber. Long, withering tails wagged side to side in the sand, one next to the other. Large lizards of all kinds, some with spiky backs, others with smooth shoulders. A few with hard scales, rough skin, and there were many who were very tiny, not as large as some of the greater lizards. Those who were great were sometimes called the great biters, the fast spinners, and if you were very much like Scrootius, you were known for strength and power as a lizard. However, Scrootius was among those who were quite slow, and not always pleased to go moving about, but enjoyed the great heat for a time. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen.
I heard that they're going to have us travel across the desert, straight across.
I can't believe we're here now. It will be quite the journey. Oh, shut up! Here he comes. All the lizards quieted, and there, slow-moving, a bearded dragon came before them. He had old grey horns crossed on the side of his mouth, aligned across his brows and to the corners of his head. He had peculiar eyes. They twitched and flashed, looking about across the crowd. His tongue and mouth were dry, and his claws, old and withered, but still sharp with talons. Well, welcome all. I, Aldebanth, welcome the Bask of Suun. For this was the great gathering for an event that all lizards would have to pass. It was known as the Scourge of Fire will begin. All the lizards cheered their heads and began to call out, screaming in small barks and squeaks. I can't believe it, Scrootius. It's actually beginning.
I know, but I hope we don't come out looking like him.
Alderbanth moved his small, dry body and laid it against the rock and began to call out.
You know we've begun the long journey across the vast desert. The suns will test you, brothers and sisters, and you will find that there are many opponents to be feared indeed.
His voice and tune, and even the slight tone, changed ever so often. It was as if he could not keep his own voice to the same fluctuation or to the same consistency.
Now, I must warn you that these are going to be perilous trials.
His eyes eyed the room intensely.
It will take almost a day's journey to get from here across the tunnels and reach the great rock.
All the lizards stared hopefully at him. Some were afraid, shivering as they heard each word pour out of his rocky mouth, while others looked anxiously, and only a small few despised the entire ceremony and wanted to enter into the desert.
Now, we must remember the great evils. 7 there be, the 7 evils, the 7 walkers of the desert to be feared.
All lizards, putting their heads up, whether scared or joyful, began to repeat with him.
Number 1. Beware the awful death stinger, who may stun you in the sand and pull you into the dark. Number 2. Beware the shifting death walker, whose legs are many and whose teeth do bite, poison, and trap in the strings of their edifice. Number 3. Beware the giants of the far mountains and their cities that shine in the sun. Beware them, for they shall stomp, capture, and study, which is to say, they will rip you open.
All the lizards gasped as they said these words in repeat, but they stopped.
Oh, he's saying they'll rip us open.
Shush. He keeps going. We must repeat.
3 more remain. Beware the toxic biters, who are our kin but do not walk as we do. They will come and they will bite and they will swallow you whole. 5th, beware the winding death sweepers, who sliver across the desert, and they do bite with death in their mouths. And the sound, beware their sound, which does brush the leaves and bush, and does rattle the bones in fear.
And all the lizards stared eagerly, for it was the 6th that all lizards remember.
Finally, the 6th. Beware the sun reapers, who do watch from the sky, and like those who gaze at night, do sweep down and take us for their own might.
all the lizards finished in speaking after him. The room fell silent. For a good while, Aldebaran stared blankly at each of them, looking at the walls, looking at their faces. And for a good time, he did not speak.
What do you think he's doing?
I'm not sure. Maybe he's gone mad. Maybe he's lost it. What felt like ages had only been 2 minutes. But in that silence, the lizards sank in their hopes and courage. All but Hizalgo, of course, who was still cheerful to get on the journey.
Yes. Yeah. Now, let us begin. Repeat this chant.
All of the lizards began to open their gaping mouths.
I shall burn like the sun under the dying Bask. I shall walk like the wanderer and shall find my treasure home. I shall go deep into tunnel far. I shall dwell in rock across. And if I perish, I shall become the sand, that I may be the walking path for my brother's home. Now, let us begin.
Aldebaran moved to the entrance of the tunnel. Putting forth his body, he waddled over, commanded the larger lizards to open the entrance to the cave, and there the sunlight broke through.
Well, I wish you luck. It will be quite dangerous. May the Bask be with you.
And the lizards returned.
May the Bask be with you.
The blazing heat pressed down on Hizalgo and Scrucius. Scrucius, most of the time, had his mouth wide open as his tongue hung out. Breathing deeply, he coughed occasionally and continued to complain.
Oh, Hizalgo, this is too much. Can we please slow down?
Slow down? If we slow down, something might get us. I don't even think we've reached the worst of it. But it doesn't matter. We'll make it across. Hizalgo's cheerfulness had dampened somewhat. They had been traveling for so long that even he was starting to wonder where they were and how long it would be till they would reach their destination.
Oh, it's so hot. So hot. I wish there was some water. Drips from the rain. Oh, Hizalgo. Will the sky give us something to drink?
Probably not. There's not a cloud in sight. Hizalgo, looking ahead, looked eagerly, with his eyes peering across the desert floor. His tongue was hanging out as well. One for the heat, but it was mostly because he was excited. The excitement pouring through his small veins, and his excitement grew so much that he couldn't hold himself. Oh, isn't it wonderful, Scrucius? We've never gone out so far beyond our own rocks. At least, not by ourselves.
Yes, very nice. I think I'm gonna relax right here.
Hizalgo quickly turned to him and shouted, No! No, we are not staying around. We have to keep moving.
Oh, but I'm so tired, Hizalgo. There's not even some bugs for us to eat. Small jumpies or wiggling ones. I'm so hungry and thirsty. We'll find some along the way. Ah, look at that. There's some grub. Follow me. They did feed in the heat, but there was no water in sight for them to drink upon. For a long time, without a count of hours or even minutes, they wandered through the deserts. The sand was rough in some places, softer in others. There were prickly bushes they had to go through. Large green trees with spikes laid about them, where the birds would burrow themselves. On occasion they would mistake one bird for that of a sun reaper. But, alas, those winged ones were not as large or as dangerous. As they continued further and further, the wind did pick up, blowing sand like shards of glass towards their bodies. Thankfully for the lizards, Scourge's skin could endure it. Thus Hidalgo had to slow down and be more patient as he hid behind Scourge's large body. As they continued forward, the wind did dissipate, and they did continue into a strange place, where a large structure of white rock did lay. What is it? I'm not sure. They told us we'd pass by something like this, I think, before we left. I'm not quite familiar with a rock with multiple bars in it. They eyed the strange rock. It stuck out of the ground, white curved spikes. But they were not that sharp. They were worn, and they almost looked like wood. But then they began to notice that they connected to other white rocks in varying shapes, laid about around them. It's quite odd. I've never seen anything like it. It's as if someone put these rocks together. They're stuck together. Stuck? Here. At this part. Hidalgo placed his small little hand upon the white rock. And as he did, and as he felt it, he glanced at it a bit more. And then, ah! What is it? Hidalgo shook, shaking like a tumbleweed in the wind. He turned to Scourge and said, It's a corpse. A corpse? That means... Indeed, Hidalgo stopped himself. He stopped shaking, he perked up his head, and then said suddenly, No, we're fine. I'm sure whatever thing had taken out this poor creature was long gone from now. We should continue on. The two continued through the white rock, what they discovered to be the skeleton of some lost giant. And as they moved forward, they continued into a dark crevice. I wonder what's out here in these rocky shallows. Oh, come on, Scourge. Be brave, like me. I don't fear a thing. I suppose I should be like you. But you were scared just as much as I was back there. No, I wasn't, Scourge. I was simply showing my grit. I was trying to think. That sort of thing. That sort of thing? No, you were scared just like me. No, I wasn't. Now you stop it. All right? We're going to get through this. We've been journeying for a long time, and though we don't have water, we'll be just fine.
Hizalgo's words bit him in his own mouth. His tongue slithered in his gaping jaw for any form of wet, damp saliva. Something to quench that dry thirst he could feel in his mouth, like sandpaper, writhing against hard, coarse rock. What I wouldn't give for a nice taste of spring water.
Oh, me too. It'd be really nice. If only we could get a taste of more crab. Oh, that would fatten my belly just nice.
Indeed, I would eat all of the hopping ones. Yes, all of the... The rocks fell from above them.
What was that?
I'm not sure. The two, in a frantic motion, turned to their backs and looked up. Something was moving above. What could it be? Maybe it was nothing. The wind.
There's no draft.
Maybe it was just another lizard. The sound came again. Oh, what is it? I don't like it. Then they heard it again.
Oh, Zargo, we got to get out of here.
What could it be? Oh, what could it be? Zargo trapped in his own mind, thinking over the various killers that it could be, the various deaths, the 6 great evils of the desert. Was it a Deathwalker, crawling around up there? A Death Stinger, fooling them so that it could jump out with surprise? One, maybe, who slithers like the Death Sweeper. It couldn't be a giant, for it was too small compared to the giants they had heard about. But maybe it was a toxic biter who had the upper hand on one of them. Or perhaps... No, it can't be.
What? What is it?
It's... The two screamed out and ran as they saw something move out from the crevice. But they did not stay to see it. They scurried so fast, even Scrucius, with his large fat body, he dragged as much as he could to get out. When the two reached the end, they looked back. The dust passed by them. And there, right behind them, was Zargo.
I can't believe you fell for that, you stupid, dumb-witted little lizards.
You pay for that, Zargo,
Scrucius said in a strong voice, stronger than he had ever had since their journey, and even before. I knew it was a lizard. See, Scrucius, I knew it was a lizard.
Oh, you twit. You didn't know a thing. I scared you before you even knew what I was. You couldn't even last through this desert. There's still half a journey here. And you won't make it.
Zargo, beginning to waddle around them, looked deep at the sun.
It turns ever so slightly. The great fire in the sky. Funny that the two of you should be the one I run into. Now, I will prove my worth as we make it back. For you will be left behind in the dust, while I, with the other lizards who are strongest, will come forth. Then Elder Banth shall see who is strongest.
Just as he had said this, dust rolled up into the air, and in an instant, Hizalgo was biting at the neck of Zargo.
Oh, get off me, you stupid rubbery beast!
Though he was gripped firm onto the neck of Zargo, it did nothing to him. And in an instant, his Zargo was pressed to the ground, and he broke his grip. You won't make it past anything past the last part of the desert, you little... Zargo gripped the mouth of his Zargo.
Oh, quiet, you stupid little orange thing. There's nothing you can do, and your little friend over there is too dim-witted to even stand up to me. You will die here now and be my dinner.
But, to Zargo's surprise, he was wrong. Scrucius lifted up his long, large tail and whacked it against the face of Zargo.
Oh, you pay for that!
Losing the grip of his Zargo, he rushed at Scrucius. Biting at Scrucius, Scrucius let out a small bark. But it was nothing to pierce through his thick skin, and the sun had made it more dry and hard. And from it, Scrucius then bit the tail of Zargo and pulled at it. Pulling and tugging, it tore right off.
You think you are so strong, you dumb beast?
The two of them looked at each other, and Scrucius dropped the tail.
"You'll leave my friend alone."
You may have won this time, but I swear that...
Before anyone could do anything, the dust blew up into their faces. A strange sound was heard. It was sharp, loud, and frightening. It was like that of a screech of both power, presence, and great evil. It was something so menacing, so frightening, it could only have been one thing.
Sun Reaper,
Zargo said, looking up. For there in the sky, the dark shadow had picked up Zargo. There were no screams, only the sound of the flattering wings of the dark creature. It circled above high in the sky, and the shadow passed over them. The two, looking in both awe and great panic, began to flee. They ran so fast, so quick, that Hizalgo had forgot that he was even running. All he could think of was of the Sun Reaper and its massive talons. Reaching towards a rock under some shade, he had remembered that all lizards were best safe under the dark shade, for Sun Reapers dwell in the sun, and they look for those exposed to it. "All right, this is where we'll stop, Scrucius. Yes, this is the right place. We'll hide under here for perhaps a little bit of time, and then we'll figure out something. He can't find us now. He won't find us, Scrucius. Now, Scrucius? Scrucius!" Zargo looked. His heart began to tremble. "Scrucius! Scrucius! Scrucius!" Zargo screamed out over and over again, but he couldn't see Scrucius anywhere. But then he looked up. He saw the Sun Reaper, still circling around, but he heard it screech. No, no. It sees something. Scourge, please, please be safe. Please be safe. Hizargo looked everywhere, back and forth, left to the right, up and down. He even moved to another rock of shade just to get closer, to see if he was anywhere. And then...
Hizargo! Hizargo!
Scourges! Scourges! Hizargo looked up. He saw, over near a large branch that had fallen from a nearby dead tree. There, Scourges hid under the dead branches. He was quite afraid, curled up like a rock under the dead branches. His face frightened beyond compare, and him looking over at Hizargo was in complete despair. Don't worry, Scourges. Everything will be alright. Just... He then looked up. The Sun Reaper had screeched again, and it was circling downwards. Faster and faster it began to dive, and he knew where its destination lay. In that moment, Hizargo looked towards the mountains, their destination, for that is where the great rock lied. Hizargo turned back to where Scourges was, who looked in utter fear as Scourges peered at the sky. The branches would not protect him. They would break, for they were too brittle and weak. Here lied the moment, and Hizargo's heart beated faster, faster, faster than his legs, and his eyes twitched back and forth. What to do, what to do, what to do? He had always been the brave one, always been the one to jump right into action. But this time he did not know what to do. Without thinking, Hizargo ran out into the sun. He was not going towards the mountains, nor towards Scourges, but he madly ran straight across, past the dead tree, and continued to move and pick up as much dirt and sand as possible. And the Sun Reaper took notice.
Hizargo, no! What are you doing?
I gotta save. He wandered in circles over and over and over again. It was as if he had chosen both the decision to flee, but also to save his friend. The sun had taken over, and he began to wander and get slower and slower until he was so plain in sight that anyone could see him, even with his striking colors that blended in with the desert floor. It would be too late. The Reaper could see him. I'm sorry, Scourges. I should have been kinder to you. And as Hizargo looked up, the shadow grew larger and larger over him. And in an instant, everything went black. The screech of the Sun Reaper echoed in his ears and in his mind. Was this death? Or is this the end?
Hizargo? Are you alright?
Scourges? In a dark place, he looked up at Scourges, who had a wide smile, relieved that his friend was still living. But the Sun Reaper, he claws in the shadow and... Are we dead?
No, far from it, friend. We're here. We made it to the rock.
And indeed they had. Hizargo looked everywhere and saw lizards staring right at them, old and young, Some of the ones they'd seen in the chamber, and others that they were unfamiliar to. I made it. We made it.
You doubted!
A familiar voice came from behind them, and the two lizards and the entire pack of the Bask of Suun turned over and saw Alder Banth, who was old and dry as he was before. The sky was dark. The stars were bright and shimmering. And Alder Banth dragged himself towards the young gecko.
You are a peculiar one, aren't you, Hizalgo? And your friend here did tell us of how he nobly saved you from the desert. Indeed, you are greatly impressive. He told us of your speed and courage to save you twice. Have you nothing to say, boy?
He saved me. Twice. And indeed he had. Scrutius and Hizalgo looked at one another. And in that moment, they knew. I was wrong to treat you as I did. And I was wrong to doubt our abilities.
Indeed, Alder Banth cut in. You too have learned, and so have all those who made it through, that the Scourge of Fire must be tested. For you must remember that all shall find courage when they go through. Now, gather in. There is grub and drink on the other side of the rock. Pay your mind. Come along.
The lizards did follow Alder Banth. But as all of the lizards slithered and patted away, Hizalgo and Scrutius, with great friendship, knew in their hearts the true thing they had learned was that the bond of not only friendship, but of courage to keep going was greater than any power of force that even the great Sun Reapers, Death Walkers, Death Weavers, and even large lizards would never be able to understand. For it is in the Transcendent Worlds that we see that courage, like the great swords of old, do cut down the worries and fears of all evils, and must be found in the greatest of trials and in the darkest of times.